E360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. Live streaming now to millions of devices around the world on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook live streaming. Our shows are available video on demand on these channels. And we broadcast daily, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on these channels. On Mondays, Expanding Your Business. Tuesdays, Natural Health and Wellness. On Wednesdays, we cover mentoring our youth. And on Thursdays, our new show, Ideas Worth Knowing. And on Fridays, Women in Leadership. To be able to watch our television show on your favorite device, please go to e360tv.com and download the app for your favorite device. Brought to you by our producers and hosts, Jim Grant and Donna Guinois. Along with our hosts, Beata Severin Reed and Emerson Brantley. Supported by our admin team of Michaela Vidal and Gaia Guinois Balconi Leda. And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is if I get the words out of my mouth, it's proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. And I got to give a shout out in just a few moments, a public service announcement that I think you just might really appreciate. But the 6-minute webinar, you've heard me say this many times. It is a wonderful tool to help you get your ideal message across to your ideal client, because when someone comes to you and to your website, or they send you an email or whatever it is, they're looking for one thing and one thing only. And that one thing they're looking for is that, can you solve their problem? Can you help them in their hour of need? They don't care about all the other things you can do, but can you help them? And that is what everybody wants, because time is precious. And we've all been there when we click on a link that looks kind of interesting, or, I want to check that out. And they go on and on and on and on and abuse your time going over something you already know, like what the problem is. The 6-minute webinar, ladies and gentlemen, has an introduction, a body, a close, and a call to action, all within 6 minutes. And right out of the gate, you let the folks know during this 6-minute presentation, I'm going to share with you, boom, 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 the 3 bullet points, and that's what draws people in. And people don't care who you are. When I do a 6-minute webinar, I don't start out with my name, that I have a TV show, that I'm this, I'm that, because so what? That has no value to anybody. It really doesn't. But if I share with them, like during this 6-minute presentation, I'm going to share with you 3 proven ways that you can get your community involved to make your community a better place to live. I actually gave that presentation one time, and it went over very well. But that's just a snapshot of what the 6-minute webinar is all about. In addition to that, I want to give a shout out to my good friend, Mr. Bill Heinrich. Bill, I don't know if you're tuning in today or if you're going to catch this on the flip side, and this is a free service that we do for our friends. We provide value. That's what makes us, excited. Bill Heinrich is 7 Levels of Truth. This book here took 30 years in the making. Bill's got skin in this game. Some people read positive mental attitude books and go like, hey, I can say that. And they'll put their slant on it. Bill started from grassroots, ground zero. He had to find himself. He had to quit drinking. He had to literally pick himself up the pieces. And I love what he said here. This book is for anyone seeking answers, solutions, and success in life. Your birthright. I love that. I say this all the time, ladies and gentlemen, but your birthright, just reach out and just grab that. Say, that's my birthright. Your birthright is to live a life that's full of abundance, love, joy, peace, and harmony. You have that right. No one can take that from you. They really can't. Now, I want to share a great public service announcement. These folks don't even know that I'm doing this. And if you'd let them know, or I'll probably call them later and let them know I did it. Notice that website there. I've got Kim back there behind stage, and she's going to be with us, join us in just a few moments. But notice that website, numlookup.com. We all get goofy numbers on our phone, right? They try to put you together some cheap glue like they know you, give you a message, right? And you go like, who is these people? Or if you get a number that looks local and you're wondering who it is, you can go to that website there, and there's one line. You know, don't put on been verified. It's got the 3 blocks, okay? There's one line. You can put in the phone number on there. They will look it up for free. When I say free, you don't have to pay to find out who the phone is with. You don't have to pay to find out who the name of it is, because they'll identify if the phone is a cell phone and the person that owns that phone, or if it's a landline, or if it's a VoIP. Oh my goodness. Nobody on planet Earth that you want to talk to or you need to talk to will use a VoIP phone. The reason why? They're concealing their identity. They're hiding. They don't want you to know who they are. And there's no one on planet Earth I want to talk to like that. So please look at numlookup.com and check it out. And when I say it's free, it's free. Because I've tried all these other places, and okay, for the full report, $1 a day or whatever. I'm going like, you said it was free. Free to me means no cost. I'm funny like that, But anyway, I wanted to share that with you folks out there. I don't know if it works everywhere in the world. I have no idea. But it is definitely a nicety to know. And I give these folks a shout out from time to time, because they provide a free service. And I want to give them as much exposure as I can. And my way of saying thank you, because I don't have to pay some other company that pretends to, because you know how they are. They all say they're free, but they'll look it up. We got the report. Now, where's your credit card? We'll give it to you. Kim is sitting back there, and she's laughing at me, and I'm going to bring her on board there. Kim, you know what I mean? How many times have you ever gotten a number, and if it's a local number, you're going like, should I call that person back? I mean, did another call come in that they did not leave a message, or they didn't want to leave a message, or whatever, and you don't want to call back and get hooked up with a bunch of yahoos. And like this one guy called me one day, Kim, and he says, Mr. Grant, how you doing today? I said, well, not good. He said, what's the matter? I said, well, I'm going in front of the judge next Monday, and my attorney told me I was looking at least for 25 years, so I'm not doing too well. Oh, okay. So he knew right then and there he's not going to be able to sell me anything. Don McGrath was with me in the car when I took that call. You can ask Don, and he cracked up laughing. Oh, my goodness.
That's funny.
But,
that doesn't surprise me, though.
Yeah. About him cracking up?
Well, him cracking up and you making that comment. So
She knows me well. What can I say?
Yeah.
But yeah, take a note of that numlookup.com.
I made sure I put it in there because I get tons of scam calls all the time.
Yeah. And if it's a VoIP number, ladies and gentlemen, block that number. They're only going to do one thing. If they're hiding their identity and they don't want you to know who they are, and there's a reason for that. They want to pick your pockets from here to the end of time, They'll definitely want something from you, that's for sure. And I call them cowards. Anybody that's got a VoIP phone number, you are a coward. And my phone number is BR549. That's an old joke from Hee Haw. Yeah, that's old Junior Samples. Kim, how you doing on this Friday?
I'm doing well, Jim. And how could I not be doing like go up a notch joining you today? I always wind up in a even better mood by the time we get done with our show at the end every Friday.
Well, thank you so much. And the guest we had scheduled today was unable to make it, so we're going to. Kim says, "Hey, there's something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time." And I thought, well, she's going to be talking about me or what? So,
That's right.
either way, this is going to be a new experience for both of us, ladies and gentlemen. I can tell you that. But you've had something on your mind for a long time that you wanted to share, and we're going to do that today. But for those out there in TV land that may not know you or might be the first time they've seen you, share a little bit about who you are and your background, if you would, please.
Absolutely. So my background is that uh, I spent almost 25 years in corporate packaging sales, and I am also a sexual and domestic violence survivor. And after 25 years of doing the same thing over and over, I just felt like I was banging my head against the wall. So I just felt like I needed to follow my heart of what my heart was telling me I needed to go. And so I took the skills that I had and followed my heart, and have been working with those that are domestic and sexual violence survivors, and have gone and gotten a bunch of different certifications and certificates to make sure that I understood all of the different elements that went along with it. And along the way, I've worked with over 3,000 victims to this point. So
Wow.
I just feel like I if I can just make a difference in one life, that makes a change. It has a ripple effect. So
Yeah, it really does. And, we've known each other for several years, and we go back a ways. And, I've known Kim, I've seen her, not only survive, but thrive. Because her first thing that she realized she had to do was survive. But she knew, like Kim, you didn't know all the answers then, but you knew one thing: this was not where you were going to stay. This is a starting point for you to reach the level of, that you wanted to reach. You wanted to thrive in life. And you took it to a much higher level than even I realized or thought, because not only did you thrive, but you started sharing the good news with others who had been abused, and others who have been, that were struggling. Because when you do that, as Kim can share with you, and I'm going to let her talk about this, when you do that, you have not only blessed them, but you've super blessed yourself, haven't you?
you, it's so interesting is that when I first started getting into this, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to take all of this knowledge and hopefully it will, be helpful to other people. And then I found that as I did that, at the end, I began to realize like this wasn't about me anymore. It was about them. It was a much, much higher calling than that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that, the gift was actually back on me, is that these
Mm-hmm.
people were, giving me the honor to be able to be in their presence, to, see where they had those moments where that light bulb went on, where they could start, recognizing who they were and, what they wanted to accomplish. That, and for so many of them, that's the first time they've ever had a thought, in probably years, that, something about themselves, and, one of the things that I was sharing the other day is that it's okay to say, I'm proud of myself, or I want this for myself. Like, there's a difference between, being confident in yourself and saying like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm proud of what I accomplished, and being, self-centered. Like,
Mm-hmm.
those are two different things. So, uh,
Mm-hmm.
in actuality, uh, the other day I put something up, and it actually, or I shouldn't say up, I sent it to several people, and it's the first time ever that I highlighted it in the title, saying, I am so proud of myself, of what I've accomplished. Because normally I would say, what do you think of this? Because it was like I was looking for permission to be okay, to be happy, be
Approval.
about accomplished.
Accepted. Yeah. As you're talking there, it kind of reminded me a little bit of my journey. Uh, a lot of you folks that follow this show know that I had a heart attack, open heart surgery, and 4 bypasses, and all that. And one of the things that a couple people asked me, not my family, because they knew better, they already knew that answer, no need to waste their breath. But one of the things I was asked is that, when are you going to retire? And I said, and do what? Because once you retire, you've closed the door really on being able to share your blessings. And as I think about my journey and my struggle, how I could not live on prescription drugs, the way they affected me, they interrupted my sleep every single night. The most I could sleep was an hour and a half at the most before I had to get up and go, to the restroom to relieve my bladder because it was overworking my kidneys. And after about 2 weeks, I mean, not only was I talking to myself, I was answering my own questions. And come think about it, I had some very intelligent conversations during that time. No, but really, I felt horrible. That was Dixie. She just knocked something down. Yeah. Anyway, and I felt horrible, but the thing was that I knew I couldn't live like that. I couldn't exist like that. There had to be a better way. So I went through a lot of, in my journey, I went through a lot. And I found that vitamins and minerals, a good source of vitamins and minerals, let me add, and dandelion tea. And I went through a lot of studies, many hours with cardiologists and things of this nature. And just this past week, Wednesday it was, I went to see my cardiologist, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I told him. And he has suggested, you might want to add one baby aspirin a day to that, but other than that, don't change a thing what you're doing, because my blood pressure is good. My bad cholesterol is at 6.0. And it's just, so my point being, if I would have felt sorry for myself after the heart attack, and if I would have thought, after coming home and having an 8-inch incision, being glued shut and all of that, and being incapacitated for several weeks the way I was, if I would have took the pity party route and justified in my mind that I'm just going to retire now and go on my own way, I would have robbed myself and others of the opportunity to be a blessing to them. And that's exactly what Kim has did in her own way. And the reason I mention that, Kim, because every single person out there has an opportunity to be a blessing to a multitude of others, don't they?
It doesn't matter if it is, you don't have to be on a stage, you don't have to be on a show, you don't have to have uh, some big title behind your name to make a difference in somebody's life. You can be there when somebody.
You don't even have to be good looking. I proved that one.
Give yourself some credit, Jim.
Oh, okay. No.
But you can. We all can. We all have opportunity to, be the highlight and in
Yeah.
somebody's life.
Mhm.
You're there at the right moment, and now that
Mhm.
person's life is, changed where it wasn't before.
There's a reason why you were there in that right moment, isn't there?
I absolutely truly believe that, you know you know God had me go through everything I've gone through, because He
Mm.
said you have the shoulders to withstand it. and the perseverance to teach it.
You know, Kim, in what you sent me, one of the things that really caught my eye, one of the things that keeps people back, whether it's being a blessing to someone else or trying something new, is that people are scared to death to leave their comfort zone, aren't they?
Yeah, we all, so many of us live in that spot of, what feels comfortable. But what is interesting about being in the comfort zone, though, is that there is probably a lot of things that you're not happy about that are going wrong in your life. That is actually a tremendous amount of issues you may be facing, but you would rather sit in that than take that one moment and chance to do
Yeah.
something, stick your arm out and do something, different, or ask for help,
Oh,
that,
yeah.
can make all the difference, in the world. But, there's a saying that, when you're trying to go towards a goal, whether it be, something personal, or you're, wanting to start your own business, whatever it is that the difference between those who succeed and those that don't are those that are willing to, you know, uh, get over the hurdle, and those that are not.
Yeah. You're exactly right because I think the one thing that really holds people back is that they feel like they're going to be out of control. As long as I stay in my comfort zone, I can have self control over everything. And giving up that self control or taking a risk, sometimes that just frightens people so much or scares them so much that they're just not willing to take that chance. They just don't. Classic example in my case, a lot of people do not realize that for many years I suffered from glossophobia. And a lot of people look at you when you say, well, I still got a little case of glossophobia, especially now after the pandemic. They'll want to back up and look at you. But glosso is Greek meaning the tongue. And we know what a phobia is, it's just a fear. But I had the fear of public speaking. Now, Kim has known me for many years, but see, I was forced to come out of my comfort zone in the military because I got assigned to a unit and I had to become an instructor. A certified instructor in the United States Army, stand up in front of people and giving a class. And I thought, oh, I can never do this. But fortunately for me, I had a senior instructor says, hey, don't worry about it. I used to be just like you. You're going to be a great instructor. And I'm thinking, no, this guy's putting me together. But my point being, no matter what it is, you got to come out of your comfort zone. You can find someone that can help you along the way to give you the encouragement, to give you good, positive feedback. And they're willing to help you because, especially those that's been there, my goodness gracious. I teach classes on overcoming glossophobia. And Kim, I've had people say, even my wife told me, she says, I didn't know you suffer from public speaking. I said, yeah, because I camouflaged it very, very well. Well, I could sit in a boardroom and give my report when it was my time. That was no problem. But to stand in front of 10, 15, 20 people and speak, oh my goodness. I never will forget one time I had to give a class like that. And I knew this guy that could, give the presentation. I knew he hated to do the work in the armory he had to do. He had to inventory the guns, match all the serial numbers. Now, so I'll tell you what I'll do. I like you so much. I'll go do that if you give us class for me because I don't like giving classes. Really, man? Yeah. So that's how I would weasel out of things. And that's specifically that comfort zone we're talking about. I want to be in control. I don't want to be put in a position where I'm uncomfortable. And in that control, in that being in the control there, there's very low reward in that, isn't there, Kim?
Yeah. Yeah, you're talking to a person who likes to have complete control over her life,
Mm.
and life keeps giving me opportunities to understand that we actually have a full sense that we have control, of our life. And but I have always had the personality since I was little that uh, you know nothing frightened me. I just went out and did it, and uh, it has been said a number of times that if you've ever heard this phrase at all, Jim, is that some people wait for the plane to be built and then get on the plane, and my personality is I take off and I make the plane while I'm in flight.
There you go. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just gives you opportunity to,
Hmm.
you know, um, the worst that the worst that can happen is that you fail, and
Yeah.
or somebody says no. And when in my sales career, I started off where there was absolutely no business in the territory, and you had to do, cold calling and stuff. And
Hmm.
I always looked at as no as an opportunity that I didn't hear no. What I heard was that they just, oh, that's okay. They just haven't gotten enough information yet. So it
Yeah.
gave me the, ability to feel like, oh, like, okay, we can make another appointment. I'll
Yeah.
come back with more information and stuff. But there's a lot of people that are very intimidated about, getting out there and making a
Oh.
change. And
Oh, yeah.
so it you those who have been through trauma and stuff, that's a very, very scary place
Oh,
because
yeah.
you have spent so much time,
Hmm.
being, and it's not so much that they're in a comfort zone, because I don't think
Hmm.
that would be the right term for it, but they have been in uh, this particular environment that has
Hmm.
conditioned them.
Hmm.
And then they get out and they have these voices in their head of what things that have been said. And so it makes them uncomfortable to
Hmm.
go and try to, take chances to know that, life can be a lot happier.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you're so correct on that because, when you come out of your comfort zone, the first door it's going to smack you right in the face is what? Fear. That's perfectly normal, and I love what Bill Heinrich says. He says, when I'm faced with fear, because we're all faced with fears. Yeah, we really are. Um, he says, come here, fear. I want to love you because, and he means that because he knows from many decades of experience, if I embrace fear, it can never own me. Because as long as fear controls your life, it has you as a slave.
Absolutely. There's a great book I read. I actually wound up getting it because I was at a conference and the author was there, and it's called The Third Door. And it
Mm.
really goes hand in hand with what we're talking about today. Is that they talk about how the first door, which would be, people's comfort zone, where the large masses, get through. But then
Hmm.
there's only so many that, are able to be in there. And then the doors are closed. And then
Hmm.
you have the second door, which is for the people that we wish we could be,
Hmm.
that we're not. And
Hmm.
those are like the VIP, those that are the it people, all those people go through, the second door, and you're not allowed, in that door. And then there's the third door, and the third door is like, how what is it you have to do in order to be able to find your way into, for me, when I was in sales, it was like, okay, if all the other doors are closed, like, how do I get into, that account? How do I,
Hmm.
find a way to start? But it also is a great philosophy of life too, is that, when life seems to keep, having all these doors that you can't get through, what
Hmm.
is it that you need to do, to find a way to, go the back way in
Hmm.
order to get in?
You're exactly right. Because as we talk about coming out of the comfort zone, that's where you go through that door, so to speak. You leave your sense of control there. In your comfort zone, you don't have any real challenges. It's a very low risk and a safe area for you. That's why you like it. But there's very low reward and very low satisfaction there. But when you come through that first door, and I'm going to turn this around a little bit, and you head into the fear zone, there's the first thing that's the fear of the unknown. But I think this one here, to me, really does hit the nail on the head. And that's the focus on the problems and the obstacles and everything that goes wrong, and you complain frequently. Have you ever known anybody like that?
Yes. I've known quite a few people like that.
You're not going
Yeah.
to mention my name on air now, are you?
No, but when people will think of 1,000 excuses why they
Oh,
can't
yeah.
do something,
Mhm.
and for myself, sometimes that is a huge frustration for myself because my personality, I like to think, is that if I'm suggesting it, it means that I've already like started it, or
Mhm.
my thought process is already in the process of figuring out
Mhm.
how that can be implemented. So
Yeah.
those are the people that are closing themselves off. It's
Mhm.
did you ever read the book? I'm trying to remember the name. It talks about the mouse that like goes through and and
Oh,
it's
the
like,
maze with the cheese and all that?
yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be an exact parallel to
Mhm.
when we're talking about fear.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah. It really is. It's a great analogy because in that fear zone, in addition to focusing on your problems and obstacles, and it's easy for you to complain, it's also easy for you to quit, to run back into your comfort zone because you're dealing with the fear of the unknown. But you're also, this is something very, very important. You are affected by other people's opinions. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, when it comes to other people's opinions, opinions are kind of like rear ends. Some are bigger than others. And some people, they can't be happy unless they tell you what they think. And sometimes they're so far out of whack of reality. It's kind of like if you went down to your auto auto repair shop, would you talk to your mechanic about a heart condition? No. So why listen to someone that doesn't have any specialized experience other than their opinion?
As you're talking about that, Jim, it makes me think of another area is about the learning zone, and
Mm.
I, there has been a lot of different uh, sales managers that I have
Mm.
worked with, and there, and even those that are CEOs that own their own company and stuff, is that they get this mentality that somehow that they have now gotten to this spot, and so they're going to talk down to
Oh yeah.
work with them, and that they
Hmm.
don't have anything left to learn,
Hmm.
and you know, uh, it's a I instead of a team, and there's no
Hmm.
I in team. And
Hmm.
if you want to be able to, continue to flourish, if you want your team to be able to meet its goals, objectives, and even surpass that, you
Hmm.
have to be willing to still learn and be open to what other people have, because other people have ideas that you may not have ever thought of before.
Hmm.
And what a you know great kettle to be in, where
Hmm.
you can be able to have new ideas and new
Hmm.
ventures and new ways to grow something,
Oh
and
yeah.
you will find that a department will be much more successful when
Hmm.
the people who are leading are the ones who are you can't tell the difference between those that are in the trenches and those that are
Mm.
managing.
Oh yeah. As you were saying that, it reminded me of an individual I knew, And in his office, I wish I was making this up. In his office, he had a platform in there about 8 inches higher than the floor that his desk and his chair and everything sat on. I mean, this wasn't there by accident. It wasn't like they moved into a place and it just happened to be a high rise, the only place he could put his chair, his desk and chair. He had that thing installed. And the sole purpose was that when he sat there in his chair and leaned back, he could look down at everybody.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you something funny. I saw him at a car lot. He was looking for cars. Now, in his comfort zone, he's the top banana, right? Guess what his body language, and I enjoy watching people's body language. Guess what his body language was like on that parking lot of that car dealership when the salesman
Very
came out?
uncomfortable.
He had his hands in his pockets and he's standing there and he looks as stiff as he's been, pressed and ironed on an ironing board. And I cracked up laughing because I had my car in there getting worked on. And, no, a couple people, I guess they looked at me because it's kind of, when you're in a place like that and you're by yourself, you're drinking coffee and you start cracking up, people will look at you. They will think maybe you're, starting to check out and mentally make the big escape, But it was funny to me because I knew the guy. I knew him very well. But he was standing there with his hands in his pocket. And I've noticed that about guys when they go in a car like that, put their hands in their pocket. It's a defensive move.
Yeah.
And I was going to get in my pocket, It's one of those subconscious things. But, in that fear zone, there's one other thing that you're going to deal with. And guard yourself about making excuses. Oh my goodness. The reason that is so damaging, I have right there on the marquee, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. Whatever you say, whatever you think, your subconscious mind is going to believe it. If I say, I can't do a TV show, people have told me I've got a face for radio and a voice for newspaper. I just can't do it anymore. My mind will try to convince me that is gospel when it's not. I may not have a face for TV, but that's okay, But my point being, don't take other people's criticisms of you seriously. That's the point I want to make there. And be careful about what you look at, what you read at, because everything is recorded in the subconscious mind. And it's like a child. It doesn't know right from wrong. It really doesn't. All they can do is process with what you give it. And as Earl Nightingale says there in The Strangest Secret, it's kind of like a farmer planting a crop out in his field. If he plants corn, he's going to get corn. If he plants a deadly poison like nightshade, guess what the earth is going to return? Your subconscious mind is just like the earth. It can't reason between good plants and bad plants. It's just going to produce whatever's there. That's it. So be careful about that. When you start making excuses, don't do that. Because all you're doing is digging yourself into a hole. And I wanted to, cover that before we move to the next one there, go through the other door. The learning zone. You got to learn, you got to train your brain to be different, don't you, Kim?
Yeah, I'm going to give an example I use all the time. And back when I was in my sales career, one of the things that nobody taught me, I just picked it up myself, is that I call it the 30-second intake. And so when I was walking into someone's office or facility, I would take everything in that I could that was around me. Because if it was somebody that I never met before, it gives me an idea of who they are, because people will bring stuff into their office that makes them feel comfortable, right? While they're there and working. And If it was somebody that I had, had a long, relationship with or whatever, I would look to see what had changed, like what else
Mm.
was in there. Because
Yeah.
what it allowed me to do is that I would get to learn about, who they are, what was their interests were, what things they found, to be a high priority in their lives, what their hobbies were. And
Hmm.
so, I always called it the 90-10 rule. I would spend 90% of the appointment then talking about them and the things that I saw around them. And
Hmm.
I would learn more about who they
Hmm.
were as a person. And then
Hmm.
I would only spend 10% of the time at the end talking about what I was really there about. Because people like to
Hmm.
be able to talk about themselves, and they feel like you're invested in who they are as a person. So
Yeah.
I was always learning about, people in general. And that is, I was always seeking,
Hmm.
a relationship with that person, of like
Hmm.
seeing them as a person, not as a entity. It didn't mean that my goal wasn't the same, as far as, I knew that there were certain things I wanted to accomplish, but
Hmm.
to me, the relationship was first and then the business was after. And
Hmm.
I found
Yeah.
that by leading in that way, I was much more successful
Hmm.
than, those who did not. And it makes it far more interesting,
Hmm.
to learn about all the different things that, people are involved in so many different things that I
Hmm.
didn't even have any idea existed. And so I was always learning every day, every day, every day.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. I remember one time I was with a gentleman. We walked into a guy's office, and he had all these different stuffed animals in there. And most of them were from Africa. I didn't know what kind of, I mean, I could tell they were African, but I didn't know the exact name. And this guy, we'd been in there before. He was very short, blunt. A sign, if you walk into an office and a person has a very clean and orderly desk, it's going to be a very short, bullet point type of meeting. If you walk into an office and there's papers all over the place and the desk looks a little messy, that individual's more relaxed. That's just one thing that I picked up and I was told along the way. Well, we were sitting there where he was on the phone, and as soon as he hung up, and he greeted us and or said hello to us, and the friend I was with, he says, "By the way, that particular," and he named what type of an antelope it was. And he turned, he said, "Oh yeah, me and my brother-in-law went to Africa, and we were able to, I was able to hunt that animal and get that," and that just turned into about a 25-minute conversation between him and my friend, and I could have got up and went to the restroom, and they wouldn't even known I'd left.
Yeah,
But
right.
it just really broke the ice because, like Kim was saying, whatever they have in their office, it's there for a reason. If they got a photograph of them and their family, you know, you can look at that and, you might be able to make a comment like, wow, your family really likes the color orange. I like the color orange too, and just, it shows that you appreciate them. It's a great way of connecting with someone because nobody likes sales pitches. They really don't.
No, I
Eh,
actually had a great experience. And I walked into a woman's office, and I
mhm.
was looking up and I saw that she had pictures of the Detroit Tiger Stadium. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, that's fantastic. First time I'd ever met her. And I found out she had just moved here just shortly before me. And she told me what she did back in the Detroit area. Come to find out that I thought I'd take a stab in the dark. And I said, well, do you know so and so? I'm like, I'm sure, like this is just chances are maybe not, because there's lots of people in this area. And come to find out, she worked with her all the time, and
Mm.
I never, looked at that connection would never have happened for us to have like a commonality to, begin that relationship with.
Sure, absolutely. And these when you meet someone for the first time, uh, like I went in to give blood before went to my cardiologist and do my lab work, and I just walked in and sat down, And the little lady came up to draw my blood, and she says, "Did you fast?" And I said, "Well, I got here as fast as I could, and I had to wait for 20 minutes before I got in here." And I said, "I'm just glad I didn't have to study for this." And this, on my left arm, she's drawing the blood from. Well, on my right hand, I wear this, the Vietnam Memorial ring. It's a POW ring. And she says, "With a ring like that, you don't have to worry about your intelligence." And I never, but that's just something she picked up on, because that is a sign. Anybody that wears a ring or something like that, it means something to them. It really does. And if you observe and see something that, you can make a sincere, open, and honest comment about, don't just say, "Oh, is that a new hairstyle today? You look nice today." Don't do that. Be sincere, be open, be honest. Or they, just like in this case of the ring, "Well, that's a beautiful ring. What kind of ring is that?" That could be a good icebreaker right there. And we're kind of cutting things a little short here due to all my talking, not Kim's. But when you're in that, you come out of that fear zone, you're in the learning zone, you got to acquire new skills. We know that. And you've got to act and overcome your fears. By expanding your comfort zone and developing confidence. I want to stop right there at developing confidence. One of the first things that W. Clement Stone and Emerson Brantley, who's one of our hosts, he was working with W. Clement Stone. He says every single time that we got up there in the morning, we met on the morning, he'd get us up and he'd have us say 3 times, "I feel healthy, I feel happy, I feel terrific." The second time louder, "I feel healthy, I feel happy, I feel terrific." Third time louder, and he said, by this time everybody need earplugs, because it really woke up the subconscious mind. And that was the point, to wake up the subconscious mind, to keep it on the course in the direction you want to go. It's kind of like coming to a fork in the road. You want to go to the road, take the fork takes you to failure or to success. Go ahead.
Yeah, growth is such a, it can be a very rewarding, or it can, be something that you see it and you get a choice. Do I choose to grow, or do I choose to stay the same? And I have lived in both, of where I attended so many different conferences on all about working on yourself, working on your inner child, all these things. And you know what, Jim? All I did is I heard. I heard, and I said, "Oh, well, that's great," but I didn't implement them. I didn't choose to step into it and to grow as a person. And it showed its, reared its ugly head by, the things that I wound up having to, come up against, because I chose to not implement what it was that I was learning. When I actually, I guess was the right time, or I had, gotten to that point where I'd taken enough that I chose to implement what it was that I was learning, that the growth began to happen. And it's a lot more difficult for people to be able to, attack you and say things that you take, personally. It's a lot easier to be able to walk away from it. And, it's kind of like wearing a raincoat. People wear a raincoat because the water, just kind of evaporates off of it. And it's the same way in life, is that, the more you grow, the more that people can't infiltrate into your thought process.
Oh, yeah. I like the way you put that, as word grow, because money and knowledge are alike in one way. A lot of people think money is power. Knowledge is power. They're only potential power. You can set $1 million on the kitchen table January the 1st, and don't touch it, don't borrow it, don't add to it, nothing. And if you leave it alone by December the 31st, at the end of the year, it's still $1 million. Sure, it's potential power, but it's got to have a mind. It's got to have someone that's going to get into action. Same is true with applying knowledge. And it's just, something I've learned in life is that I've known people who have a lot of knowledge, but they don't have any get up and go. And it's kind of like, putting a putting a nice engine into an old car, but you never want to crank it up. I'm going like, why you just want to? Instead, you go out there and get in a horse and buggy and go to town in all kind of weather where there's no heater, no air conditioning. You don't even have any windows to roll up in them things. You know that? You really don't. But, talking about this increased knowledge, increase your emotions. That's that emotion of where you want to come alive. You want to wake up that subconscious mind. And there's two things that people do that are successful that a lot of people run from. Number one, they see opportunities where others see problems. And it just gets me because they face the challenge of dealing with anything that is negative about that opportunity or disarming all the negative things about that opportunity to turn it around and make it positive.
Jim, and I know we're running short here, but I just want to get that real quick is that you can have a group of people that you're working with, and everybody's real excited about the ideas, and those who will actually take off and run with it versus those that say they will and do are very, very different, and it makes it real easy to know who exactly it is that you want to align yourself with.
Oh, yeah. And Kim's website is right there, ladies and gentlemen, victimsofabuseconsulting.com. And be sure and get in touch with Kim. And if you have any questions or anything like that on anything that we've covered here today, because I know she's all about growth, and we're going to hit the growth zone here pretty quickly. To be able to grow, one of the things you got to do is master new skills. And you've got here curiosity over conviction.
Well, and the other thing is too is you have to, curiosity. They always say curiosity killed the cat. Well, curiosity allows you to move yourself, forward and and challenge yourself of how much can you do that you didn't think you could do, because we are have the capability of doing way more than we think we can do. We're made up of more than we think that we are. Give yourself the opportunity to surprise yourself, to shock yourself, because we all have the capacity to do more than we think we can.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you want to make sure that you have the right attitude and have a willingness to learn. You cannot grow if you're not willing to learn, because nobody knows it all. And willingness to learn will enable you to find your purpose. That's one thing Bill Heinrich talks a lot about, your purpose in life, because everybody is born with a purpose. And think big. Set ambitious goals for yourself. And convince your subconscious mind that you're expecting a greater sense of fulfillment. And don't be afraid to challenge yourself and conquer objectives. If you need help conquering those objectives, get help. People will be glad to help you. Find somebody who does. And the last thing you got down here, and I want to, is embrace the unknown.
Yeah,
Oh, boldly go where no man has gone before.
that's right.
I've done that mentally a few times, but embrace the unknown. That is something that scares people, isn't it?
And it can come in different times in your life too. A very basic one is I remember when my first child was going off to college, that unknown of the change. The thought of how I was used to having both my children there and stuff. You know, that unknown was, you know, I remember driving away and just being beside myself. And I remember calling on the
Yeah.
highway and saying, okay, well, like, you know, it's been fun now. Like, I can come back and pick you up, right? You know,
Yeah.
so, you know, it's that unknown, is
Hmm.
that, it's that uneasiness of not being able to embrace
Yeah.
what it is that we cannot feel like we have. And that's normally having issue with control.
Yeah, it really is. I went through the same thing. My daughter left home. And then when my son went in the military, nobody's home, and I thought, oh man, how am I going to deal with this? Then within the first couple of weeks, I realized, hey, there's less garbage, less clothes to wash, less food. This will work. This will
Right?
work. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there ain't nearly the mess to clean up. I mean, you have to wade through to get in and out of the house, wade through a room. I knew some people used to live like it. Bless their heart. I mean, you'd have to move stuff off the furniture to sit down, newspapers and magazines and stuff like that. I could never live like that.
Yeah, no.
But embrace the unknown. Don't fear it, because if your change is something that's happening every single moment of life, it really is. And if you embrace that change, you're good to go. But if you're scared of that change, you're not only good not to go, you're not going to grow either. And Kim,
Absolutely.
our time is about gone. In fact, we're about 17 seconds over 18, 19, 20. See, but we embrace the unknown. We're waiting for someone to crash through that door and put a chokehold on me. Put me to sleep like you do in MMA.
Right.
But Kim, I want to thank you for being with us today. My goodness gracious, this was a great topic, and I'm really glad we shared this, because there's a lot of people out there, male and female, that need to hear this.
Absolutely. It was one that I haven't been able to really get on the topic. And so I appreciated the
Hmm.
space for us to have this conversation today.
Oh, yeah, me too. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone. On behalf of Kim and myself, we sincerely hope that you and your loved ones are healthy and happy, and maybe a little bit on the sassy side. You got to embrace life. But most importantly, be sure and love yourself first. Then you can love others. And always have the courage and the wisdom to understand this world would be a much better place to live if everyone had the heart of the family dog. We'll see you next time. Thank you much. Thank you, Kim.
Take care.
Mhm.